Hello YouTube, Erkin from HDD Recovery is here, and today I will be tackling this HGST hard drive that was probably inside of a MacBook, and it had water or some sort of liquid spilled all over it. So I'll show you basic steps that I use day in and day out to diagnose these drives out without even having to open them up. Generally, drives are sealed in two places. There is a gasket that goes around the upper lid, and up here where the board connects to the head assembly, there is also a small rubber gasket in there. And when dealing with water damage, it is extremely important to not do anything with the drive until you can confirm that no water had made its way to the inside of the drive. If the water did get inside, or if any type of moisture did get inside, it could begin corroding, and anything that would be settled on the platter surface will immediately destroy the surfacing of the disk if heads engage with that residue. So before we start, I will be taking off the PCB, and underneath the microscope I want to inspect this area right here. If that spot looks like it does have some contamination around it, then it would be probably a great idea to open the drive out in a laminar flow or the clean room, and make sure that the platters are not contaminated, or at least that there are no damage made by this moisture anywhere on the inside of this drive. Other than that, the board might be blown. It would need to be replaced if the drive is not spinning, and I'll show you what I do in order to achieve a successful recovery in a situation like this. So if you guys are interested in getting this done yourselves, feel free to watch this video and take notes. And if you want us to help you, feel free to just go down in the description of this video, click the link that's there and follow the steps, or just call us. The number is also right here on the screen. Just call this number, and either me or my associate will guide you through the process and explain what and how you can proceed. So let's begin. I'll find a donor and we'll go to town with this drive. So first we need to find a donor drive for this unit. I'm pretty sure I had one somewhere around here. This is a 5K1000, so 1 terabyte drive. I would usually keep them around here. These two drives are not identical, but they have identical printed circuit boards. And since we're dealing with most likely a wet board situation where some of the critical components might have fried, we can just use a compatible board. The drive label isn't really important here. So this little foaming gasket, usually it soaks up moisture and traps it in there. But looking at the board, I mean, hard to say how lucky we got. This is the part I was telling you about. Up here, this connector leads to the inside of the drive, and it's only being protected by 2 screws applying pressure to the rubber gasket that sits in between. Now this part still got some kind of moisture on it. I'm guessing it was probably like coffee with cream or something maybe. PCB repair at this point isn't really worth time spending. These donor drives can be obtained fairly easily. A bunch of sources are out there. I have a huge inventory of hard drives, so I don't really even need to shop around for them. But you can find a donor on eBay as long as it's a compatible donor and the drive is functional. You'd be okay. Now this unit does have external firmware on it, which we will have to transplant, and it's that chip right there. Otherwise the board of this thing is not gonna work with the unit that we got. But main reason why we had to undo this is to inspect this. This is where you can see all of the nasty stuff caused by this coffee spill or whatever that drink was. In some parts, like where the shaving points are, it's just exposed aluminum. So parts like that there are plenty of parts like that on the inside of the drive. So if any water gets on them, in probably a matter of a day or maybe even 2 days, it will begin corroding pretty badly, and that's gonna end really bad for the drive. But let's inspect where this water damage was able to get to. I can see right here that this is still wet. You can see it's still got some stuff on it. This part here dried out. Anything above that seems to be in good condition and dry. So we got really lucky here because this part did not get any liquid spilled onto it. Okay, so if the water went inside and around the edges of this connector, this unit would definitely need to be opened up and inspected, and most likely if it was burnt out, the data will still be recoverable, but it would most likely need to be completely cleansed, which is it's a tough procedure because we're dealing with multiple platters, and cleaning drives that have more than one disc inside is not easy because you need to retain the synchronization between them and other things that are very, very critical in order to make it work again. Around the edge, I'm not going to be worried about this gasket around the edge because the gasket around the edge is actually much better because this gasket, when it's removed, I don't know if I have any of them sitting around here, but let me see if I can find one. This is an example of a head assembly that was removed from one of the older drives. It's probably a different brand. This is most likely, it's hard to say which brand it is just by looking at it. But basically on the inside of the drive, this is what the head assembly would look like. Heads had been pulled off of it. This is the ribbon cable, and this piece is what's coming out of the back of the drive. Okay, as you can see, when this part mounts to the internal case of this drive, 2 bolts, one that goes through here and one that goes through here, they apply pressure to this plastic piece and push it down on this little gasket that's right here. So it's not a thick gasket, and it's made out of some sort of silicone rubberized material, as you can see. On some drives, it's made out of almost like this foam material, which is not very good. But I think in our case, it's going to be hard to see it. Yeah, it will be tough to see. But in our case, we don't really need to worry about any of this stuff because the gasket is not penetrated. The gasket is in good condition and it's contaminant free. So the next step, we need to figure out, we need to first of all wipe off all of this mess right here. So before I start taking this part off, I'm just gonna write that it's a donor. But I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that this unit doesn't spin. We're gonna confirm it by putting this board onto the donor and trying to make the donor spin. But since this is the client's information on there, I don't want to cause any further risk or damage, because if we got something shorted around here, and then if we power it on and it starts shorting out again, it may actually short out the preamplifier, which we definitely don't want to do. So the preamplifier is part of the head assembly, and it is located on the side here. This part is not removable, so we would have to remove basically the entire head assembly if the preamplifier gets burnt. So this unit I will use on the donor, but the donor board will go on our patient's drive. Now this repair is not as simple as just taking the board off of one unit and putting it on another. These drives do come with external firmware, which is located on the PCB, that needs to be removed and transplanted from the old board onto the new one that we're going to use for parts. I'm also going to use the gasket or the isolator from the new drive on our old drive. So I'm just going to quickly rework these two chips and prepare both of the drives for the further test. To help with the desoldering process, I always use flux. So just apply a little bit on both sides and do the same for the patient's board. That's it for the adaptation. Now this is gonna act as our patient's drive, the darker one out of the two, and the water spilled one will be thrown back on the donor, just to confirm that original cause of the problem was that the drive couldn't spin up because of the blown out board. So there is our 1 terabyte unit, darker board for it. I actually felt the gasket with my bare hands and it's not wet anymore. Besides, there are no exposed contacts that it's really going to be shorting out, so I know you should be able to hear that if I put it right on the mic. Okay, whatever that sound was just now is the sound of successful startup. After the unit is running, and as you can see, this is the results of the express test that are currently being performed on this device. All these green blocks indicate that sectors are fully accessible and there are no issues with it. When the drive is in this condition, we can simply begin an imaging task and begin to create a sector by sector clone of this drive. Creating a sector by sector clone of this drive will ensure that we capture the structure of the unit as well as the content. So thank you very much for tuning in for this episode. Hopefully you don't spill any water on your hard drive, but if you do, we're here to help. Click this link in the description and we'll take you through the steps necessary in order to get a hold of us. After you fill out your inquiry on our website, either myself or my associate will contact you and expedite it for you. So subscribe to this channel if you're interested in data recovery. If you just like this video, hit like. It will definitely help us out. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. I'm shooting some more videos today, so yeah, wait for more and there will be more.